difficult to actually achieve. And why do I say it's tolerant and difficult to achieve is that, our elite is the problem, and our elites are very few. Let's go to elitist theory. Now, look at elitist theory. It is few people that are controlling the majority. So these few people are now saying they are going to tax themselves at 25% of their 100 million, which is quite challenging. So I want to challenge the National Assembly to make sure they actually implement this if they really want Nigeria to grow. Because if you look at the percentage of this, it's about 4.5 trillion. If these people are being taxed at this level, the elites that make over 100 million. So for me, I think it's now political will of Mr. President. Mr. President is always quick at enforcing rules that affect ordinary citizens. Let me give you a good example. Recently, custom talked about people that have custom talked about people that have private jets and told them that they should pay a particular amount before the deadline. I can tell you the deadline has been shifted.
Absolutely.
And they did not comply because they are elite. They are elites. But if it is the poor people, you introduce a more of fresh subsidy, you introduce different taxation, you increase tariff, you do naira floating, things that affect the poor are quick to actually implement, but things that affect the elite are difficult to implement. So I want to challenge the Mr. President to implement this and the National Assembly to support. That's where we can see that, yes, we're actually carrying out a tax reform.
Okay, I know that in Senate climes, we talk about the fact that the people who make a lot more money, they get to pay a lot more taxes. But developing countries like Africa, we are not, at par with those other countries, and we're just trying to. And like you rightly pointed out, one of the biggest problems in Nigeria, indeed developing countries, is the absolute lack of commitment, absolute lack of implementation strategy when it comes to issues that affects the upper class. Let's look into the issue of insecurity, for instance. Several times the federal government have told us, look, the high and mighty are the ones financing terrorism. They're the ones financing insecurity. We know them, but not once has the federal government of Nigeria been able to name names. So if we have not been able to deal with the issue of insecurity, which is a serious canker in Nigeria, do you see the possibility of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration being able to implement these tax reforms, if it is passed by the National Assembly into law, on the selected few, the very few elite members of the society? Don't forget, politicians themselves are on that table as well.
Well, the beautiful thing is that the bill to National Assembly is going to be executive bill, which is going to come from Mr. President directly. So we are looking at President presenting that bill. We are also looking at the body language of the National Assembly towards passing it through. But I can tell you, if President can do this, that would have helped us, would have generated more money, and should have shown signal that it's not the president of the elite, it's president of the poor and elite. Because it's easy to implement laws on elite, but pretty difficult. Like you rightly mentioned, those people in National Assembly are also the elite. So it's everybody simply means that if they approve and agree that means they are also culpable. They are also going to pay at that level. And I must tell you, average Nigerian rich man may not want to trade off 25% out of 100% of his income. But let's see how it goes, because we have a way of making people dodge or avoid paying taxes. Let me give you an example. You could see Dangote refinery is built on free trade zone. So what does free trade zone mean? Simply means you wouldn't pay tax, because you see some big people doing business and there will be what's called tax waiver. So we must come back to the table and say, no, in as much as we are earning more, there is for you to pay more. So let's look at Mr. President carrying out this task ahead of him out.
So one of the questions will now be, if at all we can implement having the 1% of the 1% paying more in taxes, what will be the expected impact on the economy of the nation and on the people? We're looking at things like waiving up taxes for those earning minimum wage and all the likes. What will be the economic impact of this? What should our expectations be?
Right. Basically, when we have people in the small scale doing business, like 25 million naira, So if these people are being given tax waive, that simply means you give them room to move to large scale. So by the time they have this money, maybe next 5 years, they are going to grow to large scale, which you can actually charge the expected taxation. And for people, salary earners who earn 70,000 naira, now you are taking personal income tax from the 70,000 naira. If you not take it, they will have more money, more purchasing power to send their children to better school, to feed their children well, which is in the long run is going to be positive in the life of Nigerian citizens. So it's a good one if we can have a standard progressive tax. The more you earn, the more you pay. The less you earn, the less